Hey Duck fans, Kurt here. So this week we ran into a few technical issues. My sincere apologies on that. We actually had to record this interview twice. This is the better version of the two. Unfortunately, the camera cuts off the person being interviewed from here down. So you won't see her whole lovely face. My apologies, but please enjoy my interview with Nichole Brown from gridirongirl.org. Kurt here, welcome to yet another FishDuck one-on-one video podcast. Well, the old logic was that football was just for the boys, but not anymore. Girls now play football in middle school and high school. There have been female kickers in college football, and there's even a women's tackle football league, the WFA, from which we recently featured an article here on FishDuck from one of their coaches. With that in mind, we welcome Nichole Brown. She's the founder of gridirongirl.org. It's a website that's dedicated to teaching women the joys of football, even from her car. How are you, Nichole?
Hi, Kurt. How are you doing? I'm always on the go.
Absolutely. Well, we've checked out your site. We link to your site on fishduck.com. Again, it's gridirongirl.org and oregongridirongirl.org. You have a blog there as well. But first,
Yes.
Before we get into the specifics of your website, what makes you such a big football fan that motivated you to create a website?
I have just been a huge football fan since I can remember. And naturally I went to U of O, and so I became a Duck fan right away, of course, like all of us. And just have spent the past several years, dedicated to learning the game, going to the games, and just supporting the Ducks all the way around. And so, a couple of years ago, I decided that I needed some girls to watch football with. That's basically where this whole idea came from. I would go to the games at home, and then, during, the away games, I wouldn't have anyone to watch the game with, usually because my husband was working or, for other reasons. And so, I started teaching just a couple of my close friends about football because they didn't understand it. They would, rag on me for wanting to watch the game. So I figured out that if I just talked to them about the basics of the game, then they were more inclined to watch it with me. So,
Right.
So this last football season, I just kind of had the idea to start, just a general Oregon blog, and things just expanded from there.
Fantastic. Well, and you're doing a lot of the same stuff that FishDuck's doing, and that we're trying to educate people to better understand the game. Your approach, though, is interesting because you take more of the game day atmosphere approach, and you're trying to take the joys of football and explain it to him, not just the X's and O's like what we try to touch on, but really explain why there's so much passion. Because certainly anywhere you go around Oregon, everyone's got their O logo, everyone's so passionate about the game, but you try to teach women who haven't been involved in the game, and they're like, it's too complex, I don't get it.
Right.
So what you've done is fantastic. So let's get into the website, gridirongirl.org. So
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about gridirongirl.org and some of the content that you have.
Yeah, what I realized is that, I would go to football games with a group of guys, and then on the away games, I'd watch it with a group of guys and their wives. And what I realized is that girls, most girls will only watch it a little bit and then start mingling or whatever because they get distracted. And so, but I started feeling like if I could just get them interested in the game, then, I didn't have to just watch with the guys. And so, I realized that they liked different aspects of the game. And so I figured, guys have ESPN and Sports Illustrated and, things like that. But girls or female football fans didn't have anything. And so that I could find. And so, I really tried to look at the aspects of the game that girls care about. So what Gridiron Girl does is it touches on, I have a number of, different bloggers from around the country, Penn State, Texas, and of course Oregon, which is me, of course. But basically what we do is we try to break down the game for the female fan base and for the novice viewer and those that are more advanced in what they know about football. But then also we have tailgate recipes and party game ideas and fashion section and things like that. And so we really tried to bring the whole game aspect versus they're getting into the nitty gritty of zone reads and
Right.
things like that, because really what I think most girls care about is understanding enough to watch the game and enjoy it, but then also how to enjoy the whole game experience.
Right, right. And certainly, it's such an emotional game, and there's so much passion involved in it, but traditionally it's been something where it was for the boys. It was just off to the side. If girls knew about football, it was because their dads or their brothers kind of forced them into it. But that's not the case anymore. Like I said in the lead-in, there's girls that play high school football and middle school football, and you go to Autzen and it's packed full of women cheering just as loud as the guys are, if not louder. So there's that energy and that emotion there, but your site's great in that it helps to educate people who haven't grown up with the game. So that's really fantastic. And as you mentioned, there's various sites too, so it's not just Oregon fans. So there's
Right.
gridirongirl.org is the main hub, and a bunch of different other schools where there's people such as yourself, women who are also passionate about football, can go and learn about the game. So
Right.
I take it you want to cover at some point here down the line, every school has a Gridiron Girl page, right?
Absolutely. Every, at least the BCS schools, the top 25 is really where my vision is at. We've kind of hit on a lot of the big ones, and what I've tried to do is reach out across the country to, girls that are in journalism schools, or in sports journalism schools, I should say, and giving them an opportunity and a place to write. And so what I've tried to do is kind of duplicate myself in my vision and across the country to different fan bases. And of course, I feel like the writers need to be the ones passionate about their team. The girl
Right.
in Penn State can write better than I could about Penn State, and you get the idea. So basically what I've tried to do is get all these girls across the country to break down each week's game for their female fan base, in a certain fashion, to help them understand a backstory to the game and what they might watch in the game, and then maybe explaining a couple of basic terms to them during each game that might be relevant.
Really great with what you're doing to help educate people is that you're not just sticking strictly to your website. You're also hosting various events. You educated all your friends so you'd have people to watch games with, and now you're branching beyond that, hosting annual events around town. So please, tell us all about that.
Yeah, we actually just teamed up with Kenny Wheaton, a former Duck player that most people should hopefully know.
Probably.
And yeah, exactly. And Kenny and I teamed up to do Football 101, a girly guide to the game. And basically what we do is, we don't do a physical aspect like some of the local camps do. I know U of O, runs a lot of drills and things like that, which is fun, but we take a different approach and do more of a, sort of a dinner and, trivia games and, some things like that. And this year, and part of that is that we have a panel of former Duck players and current Duck players that come, and that's actually the best part of the whole thing, I think. And we just get a little bit of time to, be intimate with them. Well, intimate talking with them, I should say, and asking some of the questions we've, been dying to know from them. So this year we actually just a couple of weeks ago, finished up our second one, and we had Kenyon Barner show up, which was fantastic. And so he was able to kind of give us a little bit of insight for the upcoming season. And it's a really great time. So.
Along those lines, maybe we should get into if there were any unusual or interesting questions or explanations.
Absolutely.
From players.
Well, I think the funniest part of the night was that for whatever reason, Kenny decided he needed to educate us all on what goes on underneath the uniforms and what contraptions are there and how they work and who wears them and who doesn't. And I guess he didn't name any names, but explained that some don't wear them and why. And yeah, it was a little bit too much information, but it was pretty funny all at the same time. We tried to pretend like we were embarrassed, but I think most of us really were a little bit curious.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the best thing of all is everyone who's walking away from there has learned something. Your site's all about education, and like I said before, what I love about your site is that you're about the game day atmosphere. Nothing beats tailgating at Autzen Stadium. So.
Right.
your site, focuses in on, here's some cool stuff to do for a Saturday. If you've got kids, if you're hosting a tailgate party, gridirongirl.org is a great place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite parts of the site is actually the tailgating recipe section, which is updated every game or, every week before the game with some great recipes and cocktail ideas and, for tailgates and for, the at-home parties. So, yeah, check it out. There's a lot of fun stuff on there, and it's definitely growing, and, we're expecting to get pretty big here pretty quick. So check it out, girls.
Fantastic. Well, and, guys, too, because from FishDuck.com, we kind of discovered that we've helped to educate people in a lot of the same ways that you have. We've all seen them. There's the girls that get dragged to games and,
right.
by the boyfriend or by the husband, and they end up, they're bringing a book along to read during the game. And because they don't get it. No one's taken the time to explain the complex nature of the game of football. And we've heard it on our side of people saying they finally get it once they watch some of our videos. So I hope that's happened with gridirongirl.org as well, with some of what you've presented now. Whereas women before maybe didn't quite get it or understand or thought it was just a little too complex to follow, after one of your seminars or after going to your site, they're like, oh, okay, football makes sense now.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you can make it as complicated as you want it. You can analyze the game, and I know you will probably do that, and I do too. But, really what I think girls need to know is that it's not terribly complicated once you know a few of the basics, and you can really enjoy it and not feel like it's a drag to go, to the game. And it could be a great time if you just know a few simple, basic rules. You'll have a great time. So I encourage you to spend just a few minutes on the site, even before each game. Log on to the Oregon blog, or if you're an Alabama fan, log on to Alabama, and I promise you'll learn enough to be able to enjoy that 4-hour game.
Fantastic. Well, yeah. I'll let you go in just a minute, but we're coming up on only a short time here before the start of the 2012 season. We're less than 2 months away. It's our long wait is almost over. So please, let's get a little OregonGridironGirl.org preview of what you think may happen in the 2012 season.
Oh, what I think might happen. I don't know. All I know is I'm really excited. I hate the summer and I hate the off season only because it's not football season. But no, seriously though, I do have a couple of I guess I would say predictions, or at least what I hope happens. Mm-hmm. In turn, I guess the biggest thing is the quarterback battle. Quarterback. I know, and I gotta say I really liked Brian Bennett, in the little bit that we saw him last year. But after watching that spring game, I'm completely impressed with Marcus Mariota, and I'm leaning on his side of the coin. So I'm looking forward to seeing him start out. I'm also looking forward to seeing what happens with the receivers. I've got my eye on, Takoy Sumler, Daryl Hawkins. I also think might have a breakout year. Mm-hmm. So those are the two guys I've kind of got my eye on. Well, the three: Marcus Mariota, Takoy Sumler, and Daryl Hawkins. Okay.
So OregonGridirongirl.org is squarely in the corner of #Team Mariota. We're making it official.
I was trying to hold out and keep that secret in case I was wrong, but you pulled it out of me. So go Marcus.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for all that you do in helping to educate. That's something that we're very passionate about here on FishDuck.com, and I know you are as well. And the more people know, the better they can appreciate the game and all the joys of being an Oregon Ducks fan.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kurt.
Thank you, Nichole. Go Ducks.